Hello and welcome guys, this is I Play 4K, and in this video today I decided to go ahead and show you how to overclock your laptop MSI GT83VR that based out of two GTX Titan SLI and Core i7 7th generation 7920 HQ CPU, or two GTX 1070 SLI and Core i7 7920 HQ or 7920 HK CPU. So let me real quick go ahead and show it to you guys. What kind of tools do you need? You need the MSI Afterburner to overclock your video card, and you need to Dragon Center that comes with your laptop. Just search in the search box Dragon Center and it should show up. We're going to use Dragon Center under the system tuner, and under the system tuner there is a multiple presets here that we're going to discuss, and I hope that you downloaded the MSI Afterburner and you're ready to go. Let's go ahead and get going. I also recommend the AIDA64 tool to measure your performance, your overclocking performance when it comes to CPU overclocking. The GPU or video card overclocking performance you can measure throughout the games based on the FPS results. So MSI Dragon Center comes with your laptop, very simple to use, has a lot of cool tools in it. The two things that we're going to consider: system monitor and system tuner in this tool. This is what we're going to use heavily during our overclocking tutorial. It has Turbo, Sport, Comfort, Echo and Power options mode. This is the modes under the shifts that we're going to use over our overclocking. Our overclocking will be safe overclocking on this laptop, so this tutorial 101 for the safe overclocking. But keep in mind, you're doing this on your own expenses and on your own risk. We do not recommend for you to do this if you cannot compensate or if you cannot buy another laptop, just in case if something will happen to your current laptop that you're practicing this overclocking tutorial on. So it's totally on your expenses. Ether or any third parties with this video is not going to compensate you any expenses if something going to go wrong. Keep that in mind. This is a little disclaimer. So we're going to use the Turbo and Sport mode. Pretty much Comfort and Sport mode is kind of the same modes. Turbo mode is very heavy mode that allows us to set the multiple presets, but Sport and Comfort kind of doesn't allow us to control the presets. So let's go ahead and start with the Sport mode. Why I recommend the AIDA64? Because you can control how fast your computer is. Keep in mind the scores in this AIDA64 was done before the video capturing. With the Turbo mode, 40 multipliers per core, 8 threads and 4 cores. So here we go guys. This is Core i7 7920 HQ 7th generation Core i7 Extreme CPU for mobile Core i7s in 2016-2017, and this laptop is equipped with that. As you can see, Sport mode has presets such as first core, second core, third core and fourth core, and they're not synchronized. First core using 41 multiplier, second core 39 multiplier, third core 38 multiplier and fourth core 37 multiplier. You gotta multiply it by 100 guys to get your frequencies. So if I'm going to multiply 41 times 100, it will be 4100 megahertz per core or 4.1 gigahertz per core. So with this kind of settings, our CPU running roughly about 3.9 3.8 gigahertz per overall CPU results frequencies. And this is the Sport mode. It's preset. You don't have control of the voltage, you don't have control of the multiplier. When it comes to overclocking, there is a two values that you're going to touch. It's going to be multipliers and it's going to be a voltage. Dragon Center doesn't allow you to touch the voltage, which is the main concept when it comes to overclocking, voltage and multipliers. It only allows you to touch the multipliers. So you cannot push it too far, but unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, this laptop doesn't allow you to push too far, which you're not going to burn your laptop. It's gonna keep your temperature at that safe 99 Celsius maximum on the CPU, and it's kind of safe for this laptop. Of course, it's going to shorten your parts life cycle by about a year, but that's pretty much it. As again, if something going to go wrong during this tutorial, guys, you're going to keep it on your own expenses. And if you cannot keep it on your own expenses, please do not follow this tutorial on your hardware. Do not practice this tutorial. So turbo mode. Turbo mode allows us to set some multipliers per core. 4 core totals in 7920HQ, 8 threads. You can disable and enable threads in the BIOS by pressing F2 when you're rebooting your laptop, and it's gonna bring you to the screen, and there's not such a much options when it comes to the BIOS. It's a security option, setting the time, getting some information, and disable enable the HT hyper threading, so you can run 4 cores with each a thread per core, or you can run 4 cores with 2 threads per core, which kinda creates the illusion of the 8-core CPU and acts almost as fast as the 8-core CPU in the multi-threads applications that using multi-threading up, utilization, those kind of applications, those kind of software. So this is the turbo mode when you got trying to overclock your laptop, your CPU, because this is the CPU overclocking to the maximum potential. You want to use the turbo mode, and you can desynchronize or run asynchronize core values, as you can see, multiplier values, and you can create any kind of frequencies for your CPU. Sport mode running something like this, guys. This is the sport mode preset. Here we go. 41 multiplier, 38 multiplier, 39 multiplier, and 37 multiplier. Unfortunately, voltage is not shown here, so you cannot apply more voltage, and you can apply maximum stable frequencies passable, but you will let it on the MSI to decide what kind of voltage, and they're not going to decide anything. They're just going to force the default voltage for the CPU. So your overclocking potential will be maximum up to 4 gigahertz 40 multipliers per core, or 4.1 gigahertz 41 multipliers per core. Okay, I found that 40 multipliers in turbo mode by default, 40 multipliers per core, and each core synchronized, running very stable, and it's the fastest option. It's not overheating too much, it's not random shutdowns too much, so it's stable options on a stock voltage, and voltage is required for CPU to run at the higher frequency. So you can also overclock the GPU under the turbo mode, but I do not advise you to do so, only the CPU, because the GPU doesn't have VRAM frequencies up to 1000 MHz, and the GTX 1080 video cards, 2 of them that is equipped in this laptop, can go easy to 1000 MHz above of its stock frequencies. Keep that in mind. So this GPU overclocking utility will be useless for you, so you want to use the MSI Afterburner, this tool, when it comes to overclocking your GPU, but CPU is good to go. For the CPU overclocking, you can also use the Intel Extreme utility, but I found it's complicated to use on this laptop, and I advise you to use for VRAM free the MSI Dragon Center. 40 multipliers will be stable and good to go on my laptop, as again it depends to your CPU batch revision. Sometimes your CPU can go 39 multipliers maximum, and it's going to be unstable at 40 multipliers. Thanks God that MSI gave you the tool where you can control those kind of values and set the maximum stable multipliers with that voltage, default voltage. Sometimes your CPU can go above 40 multipliers easy, like 42 multipliers stable, 4.2 gigahertz per core, and it's going to be stable, but it's not going to apply to 100% cases. Keep that in mind. In my case, 40 multipliers is the best, and it's showing the best results based on either benchmarking to either 64, and I benchmark all kind of combinations, and I find out this was the stable and the fastest. It goes above 7,000 points results when it comes to video encoding. This is very high. When I'm using the sport mode, my video encoding results 6,900 or maximum 7,000. So this is the fastest ever settings that I found for this laptop. Of course, you can set the 42 multipliers for core 1, let's say 41 multiplier for core 2, 39 multiplier for core 3, and 38 multiplier for core 4, and save it and hope that stock voltage will keep it going and it will keep it stable without random shutdowns of your computer or restarts or blue screens. Let's go ahead and set it like this, and let's go ahead and test it and see what we can have. Is it going to improve our VP8 video encoding open source by Google video codec results? So we got 7,100 results on 40 multipliers running turbo mode, 40 multipliers per core synchronized. Now I'm receiving 6835. With the higher frequencies, I'm receiving the lower results. What does that mean, guys? When you're going to overclock your CPU and try all kind of values, and then you're going to increase the multipliers, and then you're going to see that somehow your score decreasing. What does that mean? It means that, guys, the voltage is not enough to run it, and the turbo mode cannot accelerate all the way to keep it safe at the data load. And there is a possibility when it's going to accelerate in the turbo mode all the way to that 40, like 42 multiplier that we're using per core 1 and 41 multiplier per core 2. There's a big possibility it's going to crash, especially when it's showing the low results that with the lower multipliers. So pretty much it means that voltage is unsafe, and turbo mode doesn't allow to force all the data to that frequencies because it feels like it's unsafe and it's about to crash. Eventually you're going to crash in a game that not going to predict that kind of safe data load on your CPU or that kind of safe voltage, and it's going to crash. When your CPU benchmarks in either 64 or in any benchmark is going to decrease, it's a sign that it's probably not enough voltage. Throughout my overclocking experience, which is more than 17 years, guys, and you want to stay away from that, and probably you want to decrease the multipliers and see if it's going to help. Let's go ahead and decrease to 41 and stay away from 42 at all and see if it's going to help or not. Guys, this video tutorial is not going to be fast video tutorial. This video tutorial is going to explain some details so you can apply that overclocking video tutorial in different hardware, such as different brand laptops, different brand desktops. Just apply the idea behind it. As you can see, I decreased my multiplier for 42 on core 1 to 41, and my score is increased dramatically by 100 points. It means that it feels that it's safe voltage, and it's kind of want to work with that voltage. And the other preset that was a little bit faster, we don't want to use because eventually it's going to crash. It's a sign. It's pretty much generating the error in CPU core, and it's repeating the cycle because voltage was not enough to complete the cycle with the correct results. So generating the errors in the results and completing the cycle again, and that's how the score results are low under the CPU benchmark. Hopefully, guys, you understand that. What about if we're going to, okay, 41 is nice. What about if I'm going to use 44 any other core, so like core 3 and core 4, and I'm going to keep the core 1 and core 2 at 41 multiplier? Let's go ahead and have a look. Let's go ahead and apply, and let's go ahead and test it and see if it's going to work or not. So pretty much this is how you guys playing with the values of the multipliers on your core, and you deciding where is going to be the stop point, where is going to be based on the performance results. If it's going to be decrease the results or it's going to be crashing, then you're going to decrease your multiplier during the overclocking. Keep that in mind. 7218, so this is much better score than was 40 multiplier per core synchronized. We can use 40 multiplier for core 3 and 4 and 41 multiplier for core 1 and 2. Of course, makes sense, running almost 4.1 gigahertz per core, and we got better score, 7218. Makes sense, guys. So pretty much maybe this is going to be the stable frequencies, but before they consider the stable frequencies that you're going to run for weeks or months up front of you, you want to test it not on either 64, but you want to test it on the multiple environments, games, software, 3D rendering and stuff like that. Keep your eye on the temperatures, keep your eye on the stability, keep your eye on the random restarts and stuff like that, crashing in the softwares, because this is the sign when your CPU is unstable and you gotta back up by a little bit, maybe by one multiplier, or stop looking for a solution to increase the voltage. But if you're going to use the Dragon Center utility by MSI, there is a big possibility that voltage is not going to be appear here in the future, so you're going to decrease your multipliers, guys. I found that this setting is going to be unstable in the end when I'm running the 3D rendering. Is crashing, even if it's not crashing in either 64, and completing on the benchmarks seems to be like it's okay, but it's going to crash during the 3D rendering in 3ds Max Studio. So I found the 40 multipliers for my CPU batch revision will be the best stable frequencies without playing with the voltage of the CPU. Keep it on the stock voltage, so it's not going to increase the temperature dramatically, and it's going to maybe by a 5-3 Celsius maximum, and it's kind of stable, and this is how I like to run. So I like to run 40 multipliers per core, guys. You can manipulate with your values and you can decide for yourself which exactly the values is for your CPU bench. Keep in mind that your CPU revision can not even take the 40 multipliers. Maybe 39 will be the best, but anyways, it's 1 gigahertz over my stock CPU frequencies, which is very nice. In the games it's increased by 3 FPS over, and in the softwares, in the daily workloads, it's decreased my loading times and increased my productivity by a little bit. If it's worth it for you, go ahead and do it. If it's not, do not do it, because it's a risk that you can damage your laptop somehow. It depends, you know, how well the components that was installed in your laptop was tested before it was installed in your laptop. But overclocking pretty much is a good test for your components, and I advise to anyone to run it as a test to see if your laptop or desktop components can take away that heavy stress on it and can survive. If it's going to survive for a few days, means that your laptop going to live for long years to go. Alright, so now CPU overclocking. If your laptop GT83VR 7RF Titan SLI, which is equipped with 2 GTX 1080 SLI video cards, this video will apply almost 100% to overclocking your video cards. If your laptop is equipped with 2 GTX 1070 in SLI, maybe you gotta tweak a little bit, but listen carefully. So VRAM on the GTX 1080 is overclockable because that MXM PCB GTX 1080 version video card is highly overclockable, like a desktop version, up to 1000 MHz. So in the MSI Afterburner, keep in mind, guys, that MSI Afterburner, you gotta Google this tool. It's available for free to anyone to download I would start with 400 plus 400 megahertz. So you can click on the numbers. Keep in mind that user interface can be different, but the idea will be the same. You want to overclock your memory clock, and you want to overclock your core clock if you're running in a laptop. If you're running in a desktop, you want to overclock core clock values, memory clock values, fan speed values, power limit, core voltage for a desktop. It's a little bit getting complicated when it comes to overclocking the desktop video cards, but laptop overclocking laptop video cards is kind of easier than desktop video cards, and it's not the science project. So start with 400 megahertz, guys. Apply, run your games, run your gaming benchmarks, visual benchmarks, compare the scores. If the scores grow by a little bit, that's good. You want to increase it. If you don't see any artifacting, like a lines running on your screen, like a dots jumping on your screen that suddenly didn't jump before when you were running on stock frequencies, that means that it's artifacting and you're running over the limits that your hardware is set to. Even with the voltage that it's set for that VRAM, it's a little bit over the limit and it's not capable to run it safely and stable. So you want to back up by about, when you're overclocking your VRAM, by about 20 megahertz, 20-30 megahertz. Increase, decrease. Back up means decrease by 30 megahertz. If it's safe, stable, no crash, increase on the results of your benchmarking, visual benchmarking or gaming benchmarking, then you want to increase your VRAM frequency by about 30 megahertz. So 430 megahertz, keep in mind that this is the GDDR5X, means that you gotta multiply this value 430 by 2, which means that it's running 920 megahertz, almost 1000 megahertz, which is 1 gigahertz over the stock values. This is incredible, and overclocking on VRAM like that will boost you 1/2 FPS extra, and overclocking the VRAM and GPU at the same time can compensate the frequencies when you're recording with the shadow play, your gameplay, when you're sharing over Twitter or YouTube. It consumes about 1/5 FPS during the real-time recording, but with overclocking your hardware, your video card and your CPU, you can compensate that value up to 0. Pretty much you can increase your results by 3/5 FPS after overclocking CPU and GPU and VRAM, and pretty much you're going to record for free on the computer, on the same computer, without losing any FPS and performance. So it's a great idea for people to overclock that streaming online and stuff like that. It's just a little gain, but this gain will compensate, guys, that recording with a shadow play or recording with some other tools. Keep that in mind. I found that 500 megahertz is my stable frequencies. 550, 530 is already unstable, so 500 megahertz on a VRAM times 2, 1000 megahertz. You're going to see that 11,000 megahertz will appear here in a second. So it says 10,000 megahertz, but when we're going to run a game, because it's an idle, do not trust MSI Afterburner numbers sometimes when you're not running the game, because the video card will run in the idle mode, guys, and those numbers will be lower than in the game. Keep in mind, when you're applying those values, do not trust those values too much, because in the game they can raise dramatically much higher, and then you're going to crash and it's going to be unstable. And this is the tip for you to realize how to understand when it comes to overclock your VRAM or overclock your GPU on the video card through the MSI Afterburner. You want to, every time you're applying any kind of values, increasing any kind of values on the VRAM or GPU, you want to test your frequencies in the game, in the benchmark, and I advise you to use multiple games, at least 2-3 benchmarks or 2-3 games. Do not stuck on a single game, because sometimes video card can memorize the settings and data, pre-cache the data, and can use that pre-cache data without showing you the artifacts or kind of errors or streaks on the screen, because the data is already pre-cached. That's why I'm advise you to use multiple games. So computer cannot pre-cache multiple data from the games, from newer games at the same time, especially when you're going to run the game and close the game and run the game and close the game again. So it's 11,000 megahertz on my VRAM, or 500 megahertz here in the MSI Afterburner. And then GPU, I found the 40 megahertz is maximum stable values on the GPU frequency, which will give us almost 2000 megahertz when you're running your games. So this is where it comes to overclock the video card, and you can apply the same values for both video cards. Just click that tool option and make sure the values is synchronized. Just look at all the options. Usually in the MSI Afterburner properties screen, it says over here where it says the video card. When you select the video card, you can click synchronize settings for similar graphic processor. So if you have multiple video cards in your laptop, it's automatically, let's say 2 GTX 1080 or 2 GTX 1070 in SLI, it automatically will apply those values when you're running to SLI and for both video cards, so you don't have to do it individually. You don't have to switch individually here per video card and apply the settings for GPU 1 or GPU 2. Okay, you can just apply settings per one video card and it's going to keep it safe. Here we go, guys. Pretty much you just learned how to overclock your CPU, how to overclock your GPU and VRAM, pretty much the overall how to overclock your MSI laptop. Keep in mind that this video tutorial safely will apply to MSI GT83VR series laptops, which equipped with the 7th generation Core i7 CPUs with 2 GTX 1080 in SLI or 2 GTX 1070 in SLI. But you can apply the same methods and techniques, the same softwares in any MSI laptops, starting with 5th generation Core i7 and 980M SLI video cards, 970M SLI video cards for the GT80S previous generation laptops by MSI and stuff like that. But as again, safely you probably can use the same values if you have GT83VR laptop equipped with the 7th generation Core i7 and 2 GTX 1080 and SLI. Thank you so much for watching. As again, by applying this video tutorial to real life, to your practices, you make sure you understand that you're going to pay for your expenses. Nobody going to pay for your damages, expenses, physical, you know, psychic damages, any kind of damages. You are on your own. But pretty much I'm sharing the experience, and I use that overclocking skills and ideas and over the 17 years, guys, and it was working fine. Keep in mind that you're limiting your hardware life by a little bit, by like 6 or 1 year, but pretty much any hardware designed to run at least 7/9 years. So pretty much when your hardware will die anyways, even after the overclock, you're not going to use it anyways. It's going to be outdated technology. Technology is running fast, and this video tutorial is designed for those who like to run a little bit faster. I play 4K. Hit that like button. A lot of money, time, energy was invested into this video, and subscribe, share it with your friends, positive comments. Please watch this video from start to finish to understand. Hopefully I explained to you very well. English is my second language, but I tried my best. I play 4K. Hit that like button. I will see you till the next time. Don't forget, I have big playlist for this laptop GT83VR, guys, over the iPlay 4K YouTube channel or iPlay4k.com website, where you can click the playlist and you can watch all kind of gameplays on this laptop, all kind of benchmarks, and you can understand if you're looking to purchase this laptop, if this is laptop for you or not. iPlay4k. Peace.